Bill Overton was born and raised in the Boston area. He went to Boston English High School. He played football at McCook Junior College in Nebraska, and later starred at Wake Forest in the Atlantic Coast Football League. Bill later on played professional football with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's got a variety of experiences. He's a well-read, well-educated person, and he brings a lot to the table regarding the media. He was an actor in California, had a television series, and has been one of the top black models in the United States. His career spans from New York to California. And he's got a deep history in background in the media and in film and television. Bill, welcome to the show. I'd like you to expand upon your background and who you are for our audience.
I was born and raised in Roxbury. I left Boston English High School and went to junior college in Nebraska, and I was only black in the town of 10,000 people in McCook back in 19 and left McCook, Nebraska, and went down to Wake Forest University, where I was one of 5 to play to get a scholarship to play football at Wake Forest, and in Winston-Salem, and that was my first experience in the South. And it was a phenomenal experience for me, coming from the inner city of Boston, going to rural America in a town of 10,000 people where they didn't even have a dormitory in Nebraska. I had a suite that was part of my scholarship. And then to leave Nebraska and go down to North Carolina, which was a private Baptist Southern school where most of the students wore 3-piece suits and played golf every day, and everybody had their own car. It was a very, very rich university, and it was all new to me. And so the only time my experiences and exposure to a golf course was I used to run on golf courses. I loved to do that. The whole idea of playing golf was escaped me. And I ended up joining the Alpha Sigma Phi fraternity. Arnold Palmer's my fraternity brother. I was the first African American to join a Southern fraternity, a majors fraternity in the South. And the reason I will refer from time to time as some of the first to do this or to do that, as young as I feel I am, it's still shocking to me to know that some of the things that I did, as some of the things that you did, were first and early, because we're still trying to pass off as we're 40 years old. So for some of the things that we did, it sounds like we should be a lot older than we really claim.
Let me ask you a question about role models. Mm-hmm. Who were your role models in the Boston area?
I had, people like Jeep Jones, Reverend Michael Haynes, Richard Morris, Jim Mahone, Chauncey Pope. I had significant role models from a male side, all geared towards athletics. Now on the female side, I mean, my mother, my grandmother, my aunts were real positive. All the women in my small family are pretty outspoken, you know, and supportive of their husbands, but they were definitely not the kind of people that just stay in the kitchen. They always had something to say.
Right. Yeah. I always considered you a pioneer in the Boston area. I'm a little bit younger than you. I remember the year that you got drafted into the National Football League, and I don't remember another black athlete being drafted from the Boston area at that time. I also remember when you became a prolific model. I used to see your picture in the cover of different magazines. And I don't remember there were very few blacks across the country on magazines back in that time, but certainly I had never seen any black male from Boston on the cover of a magazine. And I also remember going home on Sunday nights and watching a television program called Firehouse. And you were one of the lead characters in that television program. That was a network TV program. And I remembered the way I see it, you were the first black that I remember from the Boston area and from the surrounding that I know of. There might have been others, but I didn't know of them. And with your athletic background as a professional athlete, certainly I considered you a pioneer, and a lot of other people did. In fact, sometimes I don't think you realize how much of a pioneer that some of us think you are. So could you tell us about some of your experiences and how they impacted your writing this book and how all that comes together?
Sure. Yeah, pioneers is a tough category or label for me as well, because I'm still out here trying to make my mark, try to improve the world in my immediate space and then beyond. Coming out of Boston English High School was it's the oldest public high school in the United States. So we had a lot of pride. And it was all boys, which was an interesting experience for me, thank goodness. Had I gone to a co-educational high school, I never would have made it out. But because it was all boys, I grew up with, and not having brothers and sisters, I grew up with the football mentality, a foxhole mentality. So my closest friends were my African-American classmates and teammates, my Irish teammates, my Italian teammates, Jewish classmates, etc., teammates. And so I sort of came out of school, and I was the vice president of my class, and came out of school with a sense of, the motto of our school was to become a man of honor and achievement. I'm still trying to attain that goal. I'm working on it. And so having the experience and exposure to diversity that I had in high school, I carried that with me when I went to Nebraska. So in Nebraska, they had a perception of me because of the way that I dressed, as I came from a very rich family compared to the farm boys in Nebraska, and who basically wore coveralls and cowboy hats and cowboy boots, etc. And they didn't know. I mean, I lived in an apartment when I was growing up. They owned homes. Some of their tractors cost more than the building that I lived in Roxbury. But because, I had to wear shirt and tie to school every day as a vice president of my class to set an example. Because it certainly wasn't by choice. And so when I got to Nebraska, and then brothers we had a little swagger. I tried to always present myself the correct way. So because of that air, which was real to me, they thought I had more money than I really had. So that was my first, I was sort of, in my mind, chronicling my experiences based on where I came from in high school to now going into a city or a town where some of my homeboys said, they're going to knock your head off in Nebraska, so you better have your act together. And my attitude and my ego was, wait a minute, I'm coming here to get a good education. I'm a football player. I don't care who they are. I'm starting, I'm playing, I'm winning, end of story. And it was an interesting experience.